This is Fox 26 Morning News at 6 a.m. Connected to you.
Hey everybody, good morning. I am Chris Stipes. It is Tuesday, June 26th, and here's what you'll see at 6. A suspected thief is dead this morning following a fight with an 18-wheeler driver who said his big rig was being broken into. An immigration showdown in Arizona and how it could affect us here in Texas.
Somebody lift your hands in this presence.
A popular Houston gospel singer accused of abusing his stepson more than a decade ago.
Those stories coming up this hour for you. I'm Natalie Bomke. Sally McDonald will be joining us shortly. But first, sweltering hot temperatures expected again today, unfortunately, and the high temperatures can certainly make for some dangerous conditions. Meteorologist Mike Iskovitz here now to tell us just how hot it's gonna get. Mike?
Well, we'll likely exceed 100 for yet another day. Yesterday, in fact, we hit 100 everywhere, including Galveston Island. It was only the 8th time ever there on the island, in the earliest appearance of 100-degree temperature on history on Galveston Island, and those records go all the way back to 1875. So that's saying an awful lot. We have this big ridge of high pressure to thank for two things. One, it has kept Debbie away from us, but it has also brought on the heat, not just here in Houston, but Dallas, Amarillo, even up to around Denver. They're going to be over 100 degrees today. We have a chance for a couple of thunderstorms in our forecast today, however, for a few reasons. One, we have a weak area of low pressure in the upper levels of the atmosphere just off the coastline. Also, this northeast wind flow aloft may help to push a cold front in our direction. Plus, we're just going to get really hot today, and that may help to initiate some daytime heating thunderstorms. So very hot, will likely top out around that 100 to 103 degree range again. Isolated strong late day storms. Tropical storm Debbie is moving away from us. That's where Debbie is. On our side of the Gulf of Mexico, nice and dry. It's 80 right now in Houston. On our way toward a high around 102. Today, a little different than yesterday, though. Watch for a 20% chance for a couple of pop-up late day thunderstorms. And here's how you can reach me online on Facebook and Twitter. It's Twitter at Mike Iskovitz, Facebook.com/Mike Iskovitz, Fox 26.
Yeah, we want to keep you and your family safe from the heat, so several cooling centers will be open throughout the weeks to come. Want to let you know that the City of Houston and Reliant Energy have opened those cooling centers in the Acres Homes, Denver Harbor, Northeast, Southwest, and at the multi-service centers in Sunnyside. You can stay cool at the centers Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Sally.
All right, well, Natalie, people in Florida continue to feel the force of Tropical Storm Debbie because of the damage she left behind. Thousands of people are without electricity, and emergency workers are warning residents to stay out of floodwaters because they may be possibly contaminated from homes' septic tanks. Water damage has also created several sinkholes. Strong wind gusts have downed trees, power lines all over the state. At least several storm-related deaths are being reported in Paul County, Florida.
Updating what's happening on your roadways, we were tracking a major accident on the north side of town, I-45, the North Freeway at Rayford. This was a rollover accident. It ultimately blocked all of the northbound main lanes, but as you can see, traffic has now resumed normal conditions. If you are headed toward the Woodlands or Conroe area, I don't think you really need to budget a whole lot of extra time. We'll let you know if any other trouble spots pop up out there. As you can see as well, the inbound lanes never really affected. We never saw any rubbernecking delays, so things are looking good in the Woodlands area. I-10, the Baytown East Freeway at Federal, still very quiet on this stretch of I-10. Things are looking good there. Looking good really all around town as well. We aren't seeing any other major accidents or slowdowns out there. You've got all green on every major roadway. And once again, the accident on the north side of town has cleared up. We were seeing traffic beginning to stack up back toward the Hardy Toll Road. So it looks like if you're headed northbound, you are all clear this morning. Inbound lanes as well look good. 24 minutes from Rayford Sawdust to downtown. Starting to get a little more slammed here on 290 right around 1960 and Huffmeister as you travel inbound. Your drive time is still in check. 290 Barker Cypress to 610 running at 16 minutes. Everything else looking fantastic. You've got all green, so posted speeds coming in from the Katy area. You'll need 25 minutes to get from Katy Mills into downtown.
Police are investigating a deadly confrontation involving an 18-wheeler driver and two men. The trucker told police he caught the men trying to steal from his big rig, and right now one of those suspected thieves is dead. Fox 26's Andrea Watkins live in Northeast Harris County this morning with the latest. Andrea, what do you got?
Well, Chris, this is another one of those cases that will be referred to a grand jury. It'll be the grand jurors who decide whether or not this property owner was within his rights to use deadly force. This is a situation where the owner of an 18-wheeler returned to his truck here on C.E. King Parkway in Northeast Harris County last night, only to find two men had broken into it and were still pulling items from his truck. Harris County homicide detectives say when the owner confronted the men, one of them ran off into the woods and the other came out swinging a cheater bar, a large metal pipe, at the owner. Detectives say the cheater bar was dropped. The owner picked it up and then threw it at the suspect who was running away. The suspect fell down after that. The owner and the suspect fought and struggled until deputies got to the scene. Now, the suspect was transported to Memorial Hermann Hospital where he died, and we asked the homicide detective whether the fatal blows were from the metal bar or the owner's fists.
Well, I believe he probably did it with his fist. That's the story that he's giving us. He is a pretty large individual. Of course, so was the suspect. And so, you know, at this point here, we're just going to have to wait for the autopsy to find out the extent of the injuries.
Detectives say the burglar was carrying a picture bus ID. He's about 60 years old, and detectives say if he is who they think he is, he has a pretty long rap sheet, but they're going to wait for a positive fingerprint ID. We've got no description on the man who got away. That is why there was no active pursuit on that person. No charges against the truck owner. The truck owner was not injured in this case, but in the state of Texas, property owners have the right to use deadly force at night. Again, this is going to go to a grand jury. Chris?
Tried to steal from the wrong guy. Andrea Watkins live at Northeast Harris County. Thank you.
A nearly hour-long police chase finally ended at an apartment complex in East Houston. Police say they tried to pull over a driver for a traffic violation on North Shepherd and Millville just after 11 last night. But the driver refused to stop and drove all the way to an apartment complex on Oates and Challenger, where he eventually surrendered.
A toddler who was found at the bottom of a swimming pool in Northwest Harris County has passed away. The little girl was pulled from the pool at the North Chase Village apartment homes yesterday. Investigators say a lot of people were in the pool at the time, but apparently no one noticed when the child went underwater. Rescue crews performed CPR for more than an hour, but the little girl died at the hospital.
Well, here in Houston, activists are already planning for the possibility of a Show Me Your Papers law. This after the U.S. Supreme Court upheld Arizona's version yesterday. The law allows police officers during a lawful stop to ask people their immigration status. Last night, representatives from several Latino groups met with immigration attorneys.
When the Supreme Court rules on something like this, then many states will follow.
Houston United did a survey in January, and out of 110 people surveyed, 80% told us they were afraid to call on the police, even if they are victims of crime, because of the fear of deportation.
Well, Governor Rick Perry is already indicating he will push the legislature to enact the law here in Texas. Well, it seems more wealthy Americans are renouncing their U.S. citizenship just to get richer. That's according to new data from a government survey. It shows that defections by Americans are expected to double this year, largely to avoid any stiff tax bills from the proposed 55% hike on the rich. Immigration officials think as many as 8,000 U.S. citizens will renounce this year. That's about 154 people a week. Last year, there was an average of 73 a week, or a little more than 3,800 people total.
Jurors will continue to consider the punishment for a former Baytown firefighter convicted of murder. Raul Rodriguez shot and killed Kelly Danaher in 2010 after he became angry about noise coming from a party at his neighbor's home. Two other men were also shot but survived their injuries. The jury rejected Rodriguez's claims that he shot Danaher in self-defense, even though Rodriguez videotaped the incident. Raul Rodriguez faces up to life in prison in that shooting death.
It is worse than before. The battleship Texas has sprung some new leaks. Crews had just finished repairing another leak that had forced them to close down the ship to visitors. Saturday, the ship had reopened. Sunday morning, count them, 9 new leaks cropped up. The ship started to sink at a rate of about a foot an hour.
So it was pretty dramatic, especially being on board at nighttime, watching it was kind of reminded me of the Titanic or something like that. It was pretty sad.
Now the ship's stern came to rest on the bottom of the ship channel. Some of the leaks are repaired and they are pumping out the water, but the ship will remain closed indefinitely.
A well-known Houston gospel music singer is being sued by the stepson he disfigured more than a decade ago. It was in 2001 that James Fortune severely burned the then 4-year-old by pushing him into a bathtub of scalding hot water. The boy had 2nd and 3rd degree burns all over, well, I should say nearly half of his body. Fortune pleaded guilty to injury of a child in 2003. And now the boy's family is seeking $5 million to cover surgery costs related to correcting the disfigurement. Time now is 6:09, and a mother is taking on her kid's school district. And this after she says her daughters came home from school, a field trip, with severe sunburns. Look at that. Let's check that commute for you now, courtesy of Houston TransStar. This is 10 the East Freeway at Federal. Looks like we've got someone pulled over, someone having some car issues, but it doesn't appear to be impacting that commute. We'll check that full commute and your weather forecast next.
.613, and here's a Houston TransStar view of I-45 north at the North Loop. It is going to be a sizzling day out there for us following yesterday's high temperature of 102 in Houston, which tied the record. It is mostly clear, a little bit hazy out there right now, but the temperatures definitely showing us this incredible heat wave that we're experiencing. Sort of a short-lived heat wave, but it's definitely going to be around today. We were 90 degrees even as recently as 11 p.m. last night. Since then, we're down to around 83, although it definitely feels like about 90 out there when you factor in that humidity. Our part of the Gulf of Mexico pretty dry. A little bit of cloud cover you see out there is from an upper level low that's along our coastline. We're still monitoring the progress of Debbie. Debbie has finally started to move off toward the east ever so slowly. It's been dropping an awful lot of rain over in Florida. In fact, over the last 48 hours, they've measured more than 10 inches of rain in Jacksonville, officially less than 3 inches in Orlando. And in Tampa, they've had just shy of 9 inches of rain, but some spots have had upwards of something like 15 to 20 inches of rain. It just didn't happen to fall at those particular airports. The center of Debbie is about 143 miles west-northwest of Tampa, Florida. It is moving to the east very slowly at 3, and it's going to drench Florida today with more heavy rain and the threat for tornadoes. It should take its time moving across the peninsula there. In Houston, we are going to be very hot again today, but we are experiencing a little bit more instability this afternoon, and we will experience that this afternoon, and that means a chance for a couple of pop-up thunderstorms. In the meantime, no rain. 87 on the island, 90 right now, or 80 right now at Bush Intercontinental, with a high temperature of around 102 expected again today. We'll have a northeast breeze, and along that northeast breeze, as daytime heating kicks in and we get those upper 90s and low 100s, it may be enough to spark some thunderstorms. Those thunderstorms will have potential of producing some downburst winds today, and so there's a slight chance for a couple of severe thunderstorms, but the overall rain chance is only about 20%. Other than that, it's going to be very hot again today. Isolated late day storms are possible. Hot all across the state of Texas. 100 to 107, maybe 108 in some spots. This particular futurecast model a bit aggressive with rain chances today, something we'll have to watch out for, but it's going to be hot until those things pop up. Upper 70s tonight, and then subtle changes tomorrow. Here's the outlook for the rest of the week. Notice that arrow pointing back in off of the Gulf of Mexico. We'll see a return of an onshore wind on Wednesday. That means temperatures will not be record-setting, but it's also going to be more humid. So for the rest of the week, heading into Thursday, Friday, and the weekend, not as hot as far as the absolute measured temperature, but much more humid. And so the heat index value will be just as bad, if not worse. Here's the 7-day Fox Red forecast. Today we're looking for a high of about 102. With a 20% late day rain chance, tomorrow 99, and then the rest of the week and into the weekend, mid to upper 90s. Overnight lows will struggle to get below 80 degrees at night. All right, let's get another check on your morning commute. Here's Michelle.
I-45, the North Freeway. We're starting off with a look right at the North Loop. Both directions of traffic still moving smoothly. Those main lanes are filling in quickly this morning. Let's take another live look outside right now, courtesy of our Houston TransStar cameras. Still have this accident working on I-10, the Baytown East Freeway, right at Federal. It's going to be actually just after Federal, and that is inbound. Two main lanes are closed because of that wreck. Two vehicles involved there. So watch for delays if you're headed inbound from the east side of town and you use the Baytown East Freeway. Also want to show you this still shot here on 45, the North Freeway at Gulf Bank. Main lanes are beginning to really get pretty packed once you get past the Beltway. Traveling inbound from the Woodlands, so your drive time doesn't look too terrible, at least not just yet. 25 minutes from Rayford Sawdust to downtown. We're also beginning to fill in on 249, the Tomball Parkway there at Gessner. I-10, the Katy Freeway, still moving at posted speeds. Actually, everything on the west and southwest side of town looks really nice right now. Katy Mills into downtown right at 27 minutes. So watch for that accident. I-10, the Baytown East Freeway at Federal. It is inbound. It is causing some delays, but otherwise really looking pretty nice out there. We'll update all of this again in just a couple of minutes. Drive carefully out there. And of course, you can scan in our QR code to stay connected to traffic around the city of Houston.
A group of students in big trouble this morning after they were caught throwing trash into reflecting pools at the World Trade Center Memorial in New York City. The site is monitored by video cameras and caught the Brooklyn high school students in the act. Yes, they were high schoolers. Investigators also say one of the students allegedly carried 3 loose bullets in his pocket that were picked up at the entrance of the site by metal detectors.
I think it's a disgrace, really, that you know, there should have been a little bit more supervision. You know, everybody has loved ones that were there, and I don't think that there was proper supervision.
The principal of the high school students in question has issued a letter of apology to the 9/11 Memorial Museum.
Illinois Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. is taking a medical leave of absence. Jackson's office announced in a statement that the congressman has been on medical leave for 3 weeks now. So far, they've only said that Jackson is being treated for exhaustion. But his press release has not released much more of an explanation about how long he's expected to be out. That has left many to wonder how Jackson's time away will impact his district. The 47-year-old defeated a primary challenge earlier this year and has been campaigning against a proposed federal detention center for illegal immigrants. Taking a look at your money this morning, Europe's latest efforts to fix its financial issues led to steep losses in stock markets on both sides of the Atlantic. The Dow lost 138 points at the end of trading yesterday. The Nasdaq dropped 56. S&P lost about 21.
2 children in Washington state are recovering from severe sunburns following a school field trip day. Their mother says it could have been prevented if school officials applied sunscreen to her daughters, but the school district policy requires students to have a doctor's note to apply sunscreen at school. What do you think? Fox's John Hopperstead spoke with the mother about the incident.
I got a text from my husband about 10 minutes later with a picture of our daughter, one of our daughters, and I was just heartbroken. And I got home and the first thing I saw was 1, 2, 3, they're all burnt.
Jessie Mitchner is seething tonight over sunburns her 2 daughters got during field day at their school. Their skin so tender, she took them to the hospital.
One of my daughters has blisters on her nose, little blisters, water blisters, and right up here. And then the other daughter has them on her shoulders, and it's starting, skin just sloughs off to the touch.
It was raining Tuesday morning when her children left for school at Point Defiance Elementary, but the weather cleared, the sun came out, and they all went outside for field day. She says her girls were put in harm's way.
And I said, wow, that is remarkable that your staff are not empowered to make a common sense decision about my child's safety. At the end of the day, if you can't put sunscreen on a kid, you could remove them from the source of danger.
Mitchner says she was shocked to learn teachers couldn't put sunscreen on the kids. It's against district policy. Also, kids can only bring it themselves if they have a doctor's note. Girl's mom says she knows she could have put sunscreen on her kids before they left for school, but she was unaware of the sunscreen policy. She's now writing letters to the district and school board pleading with them to make a change.
We're not a negligent group of people on the whole. Like, this is so egregious, though. This is so out of character, and I feel like they're just resting on this idea that there's nothing they can do, so they just don't even address it.
Can't believe you need a doctor's note to apply sunscreen. John Hopperstead reporting this morning. It's 6:21 right now, and here's the story of the morning. Maybe a bunch of wild turkeys in New Jersey could be fighting back against the Thanksgiving holiday. How this town is cracking down on these birds and the people who feed them after a string of wild turkey attacks there. Isn't that a show when wild turkeys attack? In today's Job Shop Job of the Day, Waste Management looking for a UI web developer. The preferred applicant must have at least 10 years experience with 8 or more years in UI development. You must also have advanced knowledge of several web coding platforms. I'm out. To apply, log on to myfoxhouston.com, click on Job Shop.
.25. We broke a record on the island yesterday with a high of 100 degrees, the earliest time we've ever observed 100 and only the 8th time that we've hit 100 on Galveston Island. Broke the old record by 4 degrees. The winds are light. They're coming in from the north-northwest right now, about 6 knots. The wave heights offshore pretty glassy, pretty low, under 1 foot. The Galveston Island forecast today calls for another record-breaking day. The record is 95. Would you believe we're 87 out there right now? We're only 8 degrees from the record high, and the sun only came up about a minute ago. Unbelievable. So make sure that you wear that sunscreen, as we just learned in that story a few minutes ago. Plenty of sunscreen recommended today.
Thank you, Mike. Well, here's something you don't hear every day. A turkey terrorist alert out of Haynes Point, New Jersey. Big birds are roaming the streets and lawns there, attacking people too. Karen Harris says she didn't think twice about grabbing a broom and shooing away the turkeys outside the school where she works. Then one day she says they got her back.
With my peripheral vision, I seen the turkey coming towards me. And then I looked at the turkey and he kind of picked up speed. So then I was like, wait a minute, he's chasing me.
Harris isn't alone. In recent weeks, Haynes Point Township officials say they've gotten several calls from residents complaining about aggressive turkeys. Many of the attacks are happening on the path across the street from the school. Now the township wants to fine people who feed the turkeys $2,000. State wildlife officials are hoping to trap them and move them out of the area. Couple of bad turkeys ruin it for the whole flock there. Well, you are our best resource here at Fox 26, so if you see breaking news or have a news tip, let us know by sending an email and pictures to mynews@fox26.com. You can also connect with us on Twitter at myfoxhouston. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody. Hope your Tuesday morning is off to an outstanding start. I am Chris Stipes, Sally McDonald, Natalie Bomke here as well, and here's what you'll see in our next half hour. An 18-wheeler driver, 2 suspected thieves, and now 1 person is dead. What happened? A makeover for the often used criminal lineup. New rules police departments will soon have to follow. A teenager caught red-handed making a poor choice at a vending machine.
Those stories are coming up this hour, but first, the sweltering heat, triple-digit temperatures that aren't expected to cool down anytime soon. Meteorologist Mike Iskovitz here to tell us just how hot it's going to get. And already, Mike, it's pretty warm this morning if you step outside.
It's 87 right now on Galveston Island. It's about 85 in parts of Houston right now, and that's not even with the help of the sunshine. Yesterday's highs broke records all over the place. Well, actually, we tied the record in Houston at 102 at both Bush and Hobby. Smashed the record for Galveston. The old record was 96. We hit 100 yesterday. The record for today is 95. We're already 87. So we're 8 degrees from the record, and the sun is barely even up yet on Galveston Island. And that temperature of 102 in Palacios tied for the 3rd warmest ever recorded down there in Palacios, and those records go back nearly 70 years. Looking ahead at the forecast for the day today, it's going to be very hot again, with highs likely exceeding 100, getting up to about 102, maybe 103 today. But we do introduce today the slight chance for some strong late-day thunderstorms, maybe some strong wind gusts coming out of some of those isolated storms. As far as the tropics are concerned, Debbie is moving away. Debbie continues to hit Florida with heavy rain, in particular North Florida today, but we are seeing another one of those rain bands setting up that could produce some tornadoes or some isolated severe weather over Florida. Across Texas, high and dry for now. 83 in Dallas, 80 in Houston, 70s for most other spots, but highs today will range from 100 to possibly as high as 107, 108 across the state of Texas. We are going to have, though, that likelihood for some late-day thunderstorms today that we didn't have yesterday. Right now, we'll call for about a 20% chance, but just keep in mind those storms will be capable of producing not only a lot of lightning, but some downdraft winds, some downburst or microburst winds later on this afternoon. So watch out for that. Your rain chance about 1 out of 5. Look for a hot high temperature of 102 degrees today. Check me out on Facebook and Twitter. Here's how you do it. It's twitter.com @MikeIskovitz, and Facebook. Just search Mike Iskovitz, Fox 26. I would love to hear from you. Michelle, keeping a close eye on the roadways this morning, and we will have an update from her coming up in a few minutes. It's been pretty ugly out there.
Mike, we want to give folks out there, of course, a look at where they can cool off in these dangerous conditions for some people. City of Houston and Reliant Energy have opened cooling centers in the Acres Homes, Denver Harbor, Northeast, Southwest, and the multi-service centers in the Sunnyside community. You can stay cool at those centers Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Michelle.
All right. Thank you, Natalie. If you are coming in from the Baytown area this morning, we do have a traffic alert for you. I-10, the Baytown East Freeway at Federal. 2 main lanes blocked right now. A lot of flashing lights. This is a 2-vehicle accident causing about a 10-minute delay right now. So budget extra time if you are coming in from the east side of town. That is going to affect you headed inbound. Let's take another live look outside right now. The Katy Freeway at North Post Oak over there by the West Loop. Things are moving smoothly, so no complaints on that stretch of roadway. But Mike said it looks ugly out there, and we do have a couple of other trouble spots. So let's go right to them here on our real-time traffic map. First up, the location of the accident on I-10, the Baytown East Freeway. It's right there in the Jacinto City area. It's just before you get to the East Loop. About a 10-minute delay is what you can expect. Total drive time between Garth Road and the city right at a half an hour, and I'm expecting that to jump up here shortly. Here on the South Sam Houston Tollway eastbound, we've got another accident working at South Post Oak, reportedly blocking all of the main lanes. All of the traffic's getting by. They're kind of maneuvering their way around that accident utilizing the right shoulder. So I would expect delays in that area as well. This is again on your way toward 288 away from 59, the Southwest Freeway. Everything else is building out there as we're getting into the thick of our morning rush hour commute, but we aren't seeing any other major problems, which is great news. Coming in on 288, the South Freeway, it's 22 minutes from Highway 6 into downtown, and 45, the North Freeway, about a half an hour is what you need to get from Rayford Sawdust into the downtown area, or more specifically Allen Parkway. Drive carefully out there.
Right now, police are investigating a deadly confrontation between an 18-wheeler driver and 2 men, 2 suspected thieves. The trucker told police he caught the guys trying to steal from his big rig as it was parked on C.E. King Parkway in Tidwell early this morning. The owner of the big rig told police the men ran into some nearby businesses, but he caught up with them. The men fought. One of the suspects died. Police say the second suspect ran off, and there was no active search for him because no one was able to get a good description. No charges are expected to be filed against the truck driver.
General rule of thumb, don't run from the police because they will catch you if you break the law. And we've got a case in point for you here. A nearly hour-long police chase finally ended at an apartment complex in East Houston. Police say they tried to pull over a driver for a traffic violation on North Shepherd and Millville just after 11 last night. That driver refused to stop, drove all the way to an apartment complex on Oates and Challenger, where he eventually surrendered. A toddler who was found at the bottom of a pool in Northwest Harris County has passed away. The little girl was pulled from the pool at the North Chase Village apartment homes yesterday. Investigators say a lot of people were in the pool at the time, but no one noticed when the child went underwater. Rescue crews performed CPR for more than an hour, but that little girl died at the hospital.
Police trying to track down a man who robbed a bank in Cypress yesterday. Take a good look at this guy. Houston FBI investigators say he handed a note to the teller at a Wells Fargo bank off the Northwest Freeway in Cypress. Once he got the cash, he took off in a stolen car. That car was later found not too far away from the bank, but no sign of him. So far this year, to give you a better perspective, there have been 88 bank robberies within Harris County.
A new state law requires police departments to take a closer look at their criminal lineup procedures. For years now, many agencies have used what's called the 6-pack to allow witnesses to identify a suspect. But research suggests that when you present six potential suspects at a time, and then a sequential presentation where pictures are shown one at a time, that second option offers a more unbiased approach. Also, detectives showing the photos should not know which one is the suspect if there is a potential suspect at that time, because the officer's body language can sway a witness's selection.
So we're reasonably confident that if agencies do adopt this policy or policies along these lines, it will reduce the number of wrongful convictions that we see.
Yesterday, Sam Houston State University was teaching investigators the right way to do lineups. We were there. Police officers from all over Texas were there to learn and improve their systems.
Well, Governor Rick Perry says he will try again to get the legislature to pass a Show Me Your Papers law here. Perry said yesterday's Supreme Court ruling gives the state room to craft that policy. 2 years ago, after sailing through the Senate on a party line vote, the bill failed to garner support in the Texas House. Opponents say it will hamper law enforcement by making it harder for them to build relationships in immigrant communities. And on the national front, the Supreme Court's immigration ruling has come down, but the issue itself is hardly settled. Fox's Doug Luzader explains how the court's decision is fueling the immigration battle.
This was a split decision by the court, and in some ways it has only fueled the battle between some states and the Obama administration. It didn't take long for the Supreme Court's immigration ruling to ricochet across the country, and Arizona Governor Jan Brewer quickly claimed victory.
The heart of the bill was upheld.
But not so fast. Much of Arizona's approach to illegal immigration was struck down by the high court. Yes, police officers there can still check the immigration status of suspected illegals after a stop, but from there isn't much the state can do about it. Additional efforts to require that immigrants carry documents, make it a state crime for illegals to seek work, or give the police additional power to arrest suspected illegals without a warrant are preempted by federal law, wrote Justice Anthony Kennedy. And President Obama, who fought the Arizona law, claimed his own victory. A patchwork of state laws is not a solution to our broken immigration system. It's part of the problem. But the White House didn't stop there, deciding to now end the federal partnership with Arizona to help crack down on illegal immigration, leaving the state with few options.
What they've said to Arizona is drop dead, Arizona. Drop dead and go away. We're going to ignore you.
And the impact goes well beyond just Arizona. 5 other states have passed similar laws. The court was sympathetic to a degree, saying the state's frustrations about illegal immigration are understandable. In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News.
Prosecutors will continue to present evidence today against a Saudi man accused of buying chemicals and materials online to build a bomb. More FBI agents and experts are expected to take the stand today in Amarillo in the trial of Khalid Ali-M al-Darsari. The former Texas Tech student was in the U.S. on a visa when he was arrested in February of last year. He faces up to life in prison if convicted of attempted use of a weapon of mass destruction.
On a much lighter note, a Houston team of cyclists will head west for a good cause. The Houston Police Bicycle Relay Team's 31st anniversary ride starts today. This year's team will trek 1,900 miles to sunny San Diego. That will be a week-long trip, and it's set to end on July 2nd. The team is made up of members of the Houston Police Department, MD Anderson medical personnel, leukemia survivors, and family members of survivors. This morning's send-off ceremony begins at 8 at Discovery Green, and money raised will benefit the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society.
A California teenager got caught with his hand in more than just the cookie jar. The 17-year-old in San Diego charged with petty theft after he got stuck in, yes, a vending machine. Police say he was trying to grab a soda without paying for it, the 5-finger discount. A trolley rider saw the teenager in trouble and called for help. The news crew showed up. Firefighters had to cut the vending machine's lock with a saw and chisel to get the door open and set the youngster free. Don't steal.